My name is Emilia, I'm 28 years old, and my parents have always said I was the one who destroyed our family. They don't use that exact word, not anymore. The language has softened with age, evolving from the raw, open-wound accusations of my childhood into the careful, scar-tissue vocabulary of our adult dysfunction. Now it's, after what happened, or since the incident, or the one my mother, Eleanor, particularly loves to deploy with a sigh, given your history. But the meaning has never changed. The blame settled on my 8-year-old shoulders 2 decades ago and never left. It's in the architecture of our family, the load-bearing pillar of our shared misery. I am the original sin. I live 3 states away now, in a small apartment that feels more like a bunker. I've built a life for myself that is deliberately simple, a fortress of solitude designed to keep the ghosts at bay. I'm a freelance graphic designer, a job that allows for minimal human interaction. I have a cat, a collection of books I've read a dozen times over, and a deep-seated aversion to family holidays. The guilt I carry is a physical thing, a low-grade hum of anxiety that thrums just beneath my skin. It's the background noise of my life. The event itself lives in my memory like a shattered mirror, all sharp edges and distorted reflections. It was the 4th of July, the year I turned 8. We were at the lake house, the one my father, Robert, had built with his own hands. The air smelled of pine and barbecue smoke. My father and his best friend, David, were laughing by the grill, while my mother moved through the party like a queen surveying her court. I remember the tension coiling in the air, a static charge that made the hairs on my arms stand up. A fight. A bad one. Not the usual bickering that simmered between my parents, but something jagged and violent. My mother's face, a mask of fury. My father's, a landscape of disbelief and pain. And David, his face pale, trying to mediate, trying to calm the storm. I don't remember the words, only the sounds, shouts that felt like slaps. I was scared. I did what scared children do. I ran. Not just into the house, but out the back door, through the woods that bordered the property. I ran until my lungs burned and tears blurred the trees into green streaks. The aftermath was a blur of police lights, frantic calls, and my mother's voice, sharp as broken glass, telling everyone, she did this. Emilia did this. She can't stand a moment of unhappiness. She has to make it about her. They found me hours later, huddled under a thicket of ferns, asleep from exhaustion. When I returned, the family had been cleaved in 2. David was gone, not just from the party, but from our lives. His name was never spoken again. The laughter was gone from our house. My father retreated into a cavern of silent sorrow, and my mother began to watch me with a cold, unforgiving scrutiny. I had taken their happiness, and they were never going to let me forget it. My younger brother, Lucas, born a few years after, grew up in the shadow of my crime, taught to see me through our parents' lens, the difficult, dramatic older sister who broke everything she touched. The call comes on a Tuesday. It's my father, his voice raspy, thinner than I remember. Emilia. It's your grandmother. It's time. My heart seizes. Grandma Helen. My father's mother. The only person in the family who ever looked at me without a trace of accusation in her eyes. The only one who still sent me birthday cards with $20 tucked inside, signed with a shaky, "All my love, Grandma." She's been asking for you, my father says, a statement of fact devoid of warmth. You should come. It's not a request. It's a summons. The thought of returning to that house, the epicenter of my guilt, makes me physically ill. But the thought of not seeing my grandmother one last time is worse. I'll be on the first flight tomorrow, I say, my voice a stranger's. The house smells the same. A mixture of lemon polish, old paper, and 20 years of unspoken resentment. It's a pristine, sterile environment, every surface gleaming under my mother's tyrannical rule of cleanliness. It's a house that is looked at, not lived in. Eleanor greets me at the door. She's still beautiful, her blonde hair perfectly coiffed, her slim figure wrapped in a cashmere sweater that probably cost more than my rent. But her age is starting to show in the tight lines around her mouth and the brittle quality of her smile. Emilia. You made it. She pecks the air near my cheek. Her perfume is a floral wall between us. Your father is upstairs with Helen. Don't tire her out. It's a command, not a warning. I nod, my throat too tight to speak, and head up the familiar staircase, my hand brushing against the polished banister. Each step is a footfall into the past. My grandmother is a frail bird lost in a sea of white pillows. A network of tubes connects her to beeping machines that provide a grim soundtrack to the room. My father sits in a chair by her bed, looking up as I enter. He looks older, beaten down by a sadness I've never fully understood. He stands, gives my shoulder an awkward pat, and murmurs, "I'll get you some water." It's an excuse to flee, and I let him. I sit in the chair he vacated, the vinyl still warm. I take my grandmother's hand. It's like holding a bundle of twigs, so fragile I'm afraid it might break. Her eyes flutter open, cloudy and distant. For a moment, there's no recognition. Then, a flicker. "Emilia," she whispers, her voice a dry rustle of leaves. "I'm here, Grandma," I say, squeezing her hand gently. She tries to pull my hand closer, her fingers surprisingly strong. Her eyes, suddenly sharp and lucid, lock onto mine. There is an urgency in them that frightens me. "It wasn't you," she rasps, each word a monumental effort. "Never you." I frown, confused. "Grandma, what are you talking about?" "The lake house," she breathes. Her gaze darts towards the door, a flicker of fear in her eyes. She leans closer, her whisper so faint I have to strain to hear it. "Your mother. The lies. David knew." My blood runs cold. David. A name that has been a ghost in our family for 20 years. David. I whisper back. "He saw," she insists, her breath catching. "Ask him. Find David. He loved your father too much to break him." Her eyes close, the effort spent. Her breathing becomes shallow, and she slips away from me again, back into the fog. I sit there stunned, her words echoing in the sterile room. "It wasn't you. Your mother. The lies. David knew." It's a crack in the foundation of my identity. For 2 decades, my guilt has been the one certainty in my life. What if it was all built on a lie? My mother appears in the doorway, a tray with a glass of water in her hands. "Is she all right?" she asks, her voice laced with manufactured concern. "She's sleeping," I say, my voice flat. I can't look at her. I can't meet her eyes without my grandmother's words screaming in my head. "Good. The doctor said rest is best." She places the tray on the bedside table and begins to fuss with the blankets, her back to me. "It's good you came, Emilia. It's important to face your responsibilities." The casual cruelty of it, the way she reinforces my guilt even here, at my grandmother's deathbed, ignites something in me. Not the usual shame, but a hot spark of anger. That night, I can't sleep. I lie awake in my childhood bedroom, a museum of a girl I barely remember, and my grandmother's words play on a loop. Find David. I have no idea where to start. He vanished from our lives completely. My parents purged every photo, every letter, every trace of his existence. He was my father's business partner. Maybe there are old company records? The next morning, I tell my mother I'm going for a drive, that I need some air. She gives me a suspicious look. "Don't be gone long. There are things to arrange." I drive straight to the public library. I spend hours scrolling through archived newspapers and online business registries. Their company was Harris and Cole Construction. Robert Harris and David Cole. I find an old address for the business, an office park on the other side of town. It's a long shot, but it's all I have. The office park is run down now, half the units empty. Harris and Cole is long gone, replaced by a tax accountancy firm. But as I'm about to leave, I notice a small, dusty law office at the end of the row. On a whim, I go inside. An elderly paralegal looks up at me over her glasses. "Can I help you?" This is going to sound strange, I begin, but I'm looking for information on a business that used to be here. Harris and Cole Construction. Specifically, I'm trying to find David Cole. She purses her lips, thinking. Cole. That name sounds familiar. Let me check something. She disappears into a back room filled with filing cabinets. I wait, my heart pounding a frantic rhythm against my ribs. She returns a few minutes later with a dusty file. We handled the dissolution of their partnership, she says, blowing a layer of dust off the cover. A messy affair. According to this, Mr. Cole moved out of state. We forwarded his final documents to a P.O. box in Oregon. Oregon. It's not much, but it's a start. She can't give me the exact address, client confidentiality, but she gives me the name of the town. Pine Ridge. When I get back to the house, Lucas is there. He's a software engineer now, with our father's quiet nature and a kindness that has always seemed out of place in our family. He gives me a warm hug. Hey how are you holding up? I'm okay, I lie. How's Dad? The usual. Locked inside himself. He looks at me, his brow furrowed with concern. Mom seems on edge. She's always on edge, I say. More than usual, he clarifies. She asked me where you went. When I said I didn't know, she got weird. Started making calls. My stomach tightens. Who would she be calling? That night, after my parents are asleep, I sneak down to my father's study. It's the one room my mother avoids. It's filled with his architectural drawings, books on woodworking, and the ghosts of his former self. I start searching for anything related to David. In the back of a deep desk drawer, beneath a pile of old blueprints, I find a small, forgotten wooden box. Inside are a handful of faded photographs. My father and David in their 20s, grinning, arms slung around each other on a construction site. A picture of the four of them, my parents, David, and his then-wife, on a boat, smiling into the sun. And at the bottom, a small stack of letters, tied with a ribbon. They are from David, addressed to my father. They are postmarked a year after the incident. My hands tremble as I untie the ribbon. The first letter begins. Rob, for the 10th time, you have to listen to me. Eleanor is lying to you. I devour the letters, my heart hammering against my ribs. They are a desperate, heartbroken plea from a man trying to save his best friend. She's twisting everything. The fight wasn't about what she claims. I found out, Rob. I found out about her and Mark. I have proof. I was trying to tell you to protect you, and she turned it all on me. And then she used Emilia. She used your daughter to create a smokescreen. Don't let her do this to you. Don't let her poison you against me, against your own child. We were brothers, Rob. Don't throw that away because of her lies. The last letter is dated 6 months after the first. The tone is different. Resigned. Defeated. I can't do this anymore. I've lost my business, my friend, everything. I see you believe her. I hope one day, for Amelia's sake, you see the truth. I'm leaving, going somewhere to start over. Goodbye, brother. I sit on the floor of my father's study, the letters spread around me, and I weep. Not for myself, but for the 8-year-old girl who was handed a burden she should never have had to carry. For my father, who lost his best friend. And for David, who lost everything for trying to tell the truth. The anger is a white-hot fire in my veins. My mother didn't just have an affair. She orchestrated a 2-decade-long campaign of psychological abuse against her own daughter to cover it up. She let me believe I was a monster. I now have a name, Mark, and a town, Pine Ridge, Oregon. My path is clear. My grandmother died peacefully in her sleep that night. And as our family gathered, shrouded in a false veil of grief, I made a silent promise to her. I would find David. And I would uncover the truth, no matter the cost. The funeral is a suffocating affair, thick with the scent of lilies and hypocrisy. My mother plays the part of the grieving daughter-in-law to perfection, accepting condolences with a practiced, sorrowful grace. I watch her, and for the first time, I don't see a grieving woman. I see a performer. A brilliant, cold-blooded actress who has held her family captive in a play of her own writing for 20 years. After the service, relatives mill around the house, speaking in hushed tones. I feel their eyes on me, the whispers that have followed me my whole life. That's the older one. The difficult one. Today, it doesn't sting. It fuels me. I book a flight to Oregon for the following week, telling my family I need to get back for a work project. My mother looks relieved. The less time I spend here, dredging up the past, the better for her. Pine Ridge, Oregon, is a small, sleepy town nestled between towering forests and a winding river. It feels like a place people come to disappear. I check into a small motel and start my search for David Cole. It's easier than I expected. There's only one D. Cole in the local phone book, listed for a woodworking shop on the outskirts of town. The shop is a large rustic barn, filled with the clean, sharp scent of sawdust. A man is bent over a lathe, shavings flying around him. He's older, his hair gray and his face lined with the kind of deep-set wrinkles that come from grief, not age. But I recognize him instantly from the photographs. It's David. He looks up as I approach, his eyes wary. He switches off the machine, the sudden silence deafening. "Can I help you?" he asks, his voice gravelly. "David Cole." He nods slowly, wiping his hands on a rag. "Who's asking?" I take a deep breath. "My name is Amelia Harris." His face freezes. Every ounce of warmth drains from his eyes, replaced by a shuttered, painful recognition. He stares at me for a long moment, as if seeing a ghost. "Emilia," he says, his voice barely a whisper. "My God. You look just like your father." "My grandmother Helen passed away last week," I say, getting straight to the point. "Before she died, she said something to me. She told me to find you." He turns away, his shoulders slumping. "Some things are better left buried." "She said it wasn't my fault," I press on, my voice shaking slightly. "She said my mother lied. I found your letters, David. The ones you sent to my dad." He flinches, turning back to me, his eyes filled with a weary sadness. "Your father never believed me." "I do," I say, my voice fierce. "Please. You have to tell me what happened. I've spent my entire life believing I was the one who destroyed everything. I need to know the truth." He gestures to a pair of dusty stools in the corner of the shop. We sit, and for the next hour, David tells me everything. His voice is heavy with the weight of 2 decades of silence. He and my father had been friends since they were teenagers, closer than brothers. They built their business from the ground up. He'd seen the early signs of my mother's manipulative nature, her narcissism, but he'd kept quiet for Robert's sake. Then came Mark, he says, his gaze distant. Mark Jensen. He was a supplier from the city. Handsome. Charming. Your mother was taken with him. I saw it at a company dinner. The way she looked at him. The way they disappeared for 20 minutes. David, suspicious, hired a private investigator. It didn't take long. The investigator came back with photographs. Eleanor and Mark, checking into a hotel. Eleanor and Mark, kissing in a parked car. The affair had been going on for nearly a year. I was devastated for Rob, David says, his voice thick with emotion. He adored her. I knew it would crush him. I decided I had to be the one to tell him. I couldn't let him live a lie. He chose the 4th of July party at the lake house. He thought being surrounded by friends and family might temper the fallout. He confronted Eleanor first, in the kitchen, away from the other guests. I told her I knew. I showed her one of the photographs. She just transformed. The charming mask fell away, and I saw something truly ugly. She didn't deny it. She just got cold. She told me if I said a word to Robert, she would destroy me. That's when my father walked in. He saw the tension, the photograph in David's hand, and demanded to know what was going on. Before David could speak, Eleanor launched her preemptive strike. She started screaming, David recalls, his eyes closed as if reliving the moment. She accused me of coming on to her, of being obsessed with her for years. She claimed the photograph was a fake, that I was trying to break up their marriage because I was jealous of their success. It was a masterful performance. Vicious. Convincing. The fight spilled out onto the deck. It was the fight I remembered, the one that sent me running into the woods. And then you ran off, David says, his eyes meeting mine, filled with regret. When you disappeared, she seized the opportunity. It was brilliant, in a terrifying way. She channeled all the chaos, all the fear for your safety, and refocused it. Suddenly, the fight wasn't about her or me anymore. It was about you. Your instability. Your drama. You became the problem. You became the reason our family fell apart. She knew Rob's weak spot was his children. She used his love for you as a weapon against the truth. My father, confused, heartbroken, and terrified for his missing child, chose to believe his wife. It was easier than believing his best friend was a predator and his wife was a cheat. Eleanor made him choose, and he chose the less painful lie. David was excommunicated, his reputation ruined. He lost his business, his best friend, and his life as he knew it. And I became the scapegoat. I sit there, the hum of the woodworking machinery a distant echo. The shattered pieces of my memory click into place, forming a new, horrifyingly clear picture. It all makes sense. My mother's coldness. My father's perpetual sorrow. The suffocating silence that filled our home. It wasn't a house of grief. It was a crime scene. And I was the living, breathing evidence of a cover-up. Thank you, I say to David, the words feeling inadequate. Thank you for telling me. What are you going to do? He asks, his voice laced with concern. I'm going to tell my father the truth, I say, a cold, hard certainty settling in my chest. And my mother is going to watch her world burn. I fly back home with a storm raging inside me. The guilt is gone, scoured away and replaced by a righteous, glacial fury. I have the truth, but the truth isn't enough. I need justice. I need a confession. I need the final piece of proof, something my mother can't deny or twist. I need to find Mark Jensen. David gave me his full name, and a few hours of determined online searching leads me to a corporate profile. He's a senior vice president at a real estate development firm in the city. There's a photo. He's older now, but the charming smile David described is still there. I find his office number. Calling him is one of the hardest things I've ever done. I feel like I'm dialing a ghost. A receptionist puts me through to his assistant, who tries to block me with a wall of corporate politeness. I'm sorry, Mr. Jensen is in meetings all day. Tell him Amelia Harris is on the phone, I say, my voice steady. Tell him it's about Eleanor. He'll take the call. There's a long pause. I can hear muffled conversation. Then, a click, and a man's voice, smooth and cautious, comes on the line. This is Mark Jensen. Mr. Jensen, I say, my name is Amelia Harris. My mother is Eleanor Harris. 20 years ago, you had an affair with her. The silence on the other end of the line is heavy and absolute. I don't know what you're talking about, he finally says, but his voice has lost its confident edge. I know everything, I continue, my voice low and cold. I know you met at a company dinner. I know it went on for a year. And I know that when you were discovered, my mother threw her 8-year-old daughter under the bus to save herself. She let me carry the blame for 20 years. She destroyed my life to protect yours. More silence. I can hear him breathing. What do you want? He asks, his voice strained. I want you to tell my father the truth. Or I will go to your wife. I have photos, Mr. Jensen. I will go to your CEO. I will go to every person in your life and I will tell them exactly what kind of man you are. You helped create this mess. It's time you helped clean it up. It's a bluff. I don't have the photos. David destroyed them years ago. But it's delivered with the conviction of a woman who has nothing left to lose. He capitulates. He agrees to write a full account of the affair, to have it notarized, and to email it to me. He is a coward, just as my mother is a manipulator. They deserve each other. The email arrives an hour later. A 2-page, legally sanitized confession. It's all there. The timeline, the places, the lies. It's the bomb I need to demolish my mother's fortress. I call my father and Lucas. I need you both to be at the house tonight at 7, I say. No excuses. It's important. I arrive at 6:30. My mother is in the kitchen, preparing dinner. She looks up, surprised to see me back so soon. Emilia, I thought you were in Oregon. There's a flicker of panic in her eyes. My plans changed, I say, setting my purse on the counter. We need to talk. I'm busy right now, she says, turning back to the stove. Then get unbusy, I say, my voice sharp. She freezes, slowly turning to face me. The mask is gone. Her face is hard, her eyes narrowed. Don't you dare use that tone with me in my own home, she hisses. This house stopped being a home 20 years ago, I retort. It's a monument to your lies. Just then, my father and Lucas walk in. They stop in the doorway, sensing the toxic atmosphere. Emilia, what's going on? My father asks, his eyes darting between me and my mother. I'm glad you're both here, I say, pulling my phone from my purse. Dad, I went to Oregon. I found David Cole. My mother's face goes white. My father flinches as if he's been struck. He told me everything, Mom, I say, my eyes locked on hers. He told me about the 4th of July. About the real fight. He told me about Mark Jensen. David is a liar, she screeches, her voice shrill. He's a bitter man who tried to ruin our marriage. Emilia, I can't believe you would listen to him after what he did. He didn't do anything, and you know it, I say calmly. I turn to my father. Dad, for 20 years, you've let her convince you that I was the problem. That my running away that day broke our family. But that's not what happened. The family was already broken. She broke it. That's enough, my father says, his voice shaking. I will not have you speak to your mother this way. Then maybe you'll listen to him, I say. I open the email on my phone. The notarized confession from Mark Jensen. I'm going to read this aloud. It's from Mark. And he corroborates every single word David said. I start to read. My voice is clear and steady, cutting through the silence of the room. I read the dates, the locations of their meetings, the lies they told. With every word, my mother seems to shrink. The color drains from my father's face, replaced by a ghastly gray pallor. Lucas just stares, his mouth agape, looking from our mother to me, the world he knew dissolving before his eyes. When I finish, the silence is profound. It's the silence of a tomb. My father slowly turns his head to look at his wife. He doesn't look angry. He looks hollowed out. Annihilated. Eleanor, he whispers, his voice breaking. Is this true? She looks at him, her eyes wide with desperation. The lies, the manipulations, they're all gone. There's nowhere left for her to hide. She opens her mouth, but no sound comes out. In her silence, he has his answer. He makes a strange guttural sound, a sob of pure agony. He stumbles back, catching himself on the kitchen counter. He looks at me, and for the first time in 20 years, I see my father. Not the distant, sad man he became, but the man he was supposed to be. And in his eyes, I see an apology so deep and so vast it needs no words. All this time, he chokes out, looking back at Eleanor. You let me blame her. You let me hate my own daughter. I did it for us. Eleanor finally cries, her voice a pathetic wail. To protect our family. Our family. I say, my voice dripping with ice. You sacrificed me to save yourself. You let me grow up believing I was poison. There is no us. There is no family. There is just you, and the wreckage you've made of all of our lives. I turn and walk out of the kitchen, out of the house. I don't look back. I walk down the driveway and into the cool night air. The weight is gone. 20 years of guilt, of shame, of feeling like a ghost in my own life. It has all been lifted. I haven't fixed anything. I have simply exposed the truth. The house behind me is no longer my problem. The broken people inside will have to find their own way to live with what they've done. I get in my car and start driving, with no destination in mind. And as the streetlights of my old neighborhood blur into streaks of light in my rearview mirror, I don't cry. I smile. My name is Amelia Harris. I am 28 years old. And I am finally, breathtakingly, free. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left, and thank you for watching.